Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. And this is another episode on the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha, they're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Now, welcome back to the Baseball Hut 2. Now, I've been talking about, and as obviously as a Mets fan, it would be interesting to see who the new manager of the Mets was going to be. The Mets hired Carlos Mendoza. They did not hire Craig Counsell. He basically grifted them, basically played us all, and he went to the Cubs. This did not go over well with the people in Milwaukee because the Cubs are like a hated team there in the city of Milwaukee. They do not like the Cubs there, and they hate the fans just as much. But that's not what this video is about. This video is about the crazy people that are on the air at WFAN. Now, I had said if the Mets were to hire someone other than Craig Counsell, that there would be meltdowns on the air by the so-called quote-unquote fans that are of the Mets that are hosts on the air. Well, the first in a long line of clowns has arrived. Get the clown makeup, folks. Get the red wig. He could use some hair on his head. Sal Licata, or as I like to call him, Spaz. Now, I've been on Spaz's case since August, because back in August, he attacked and belittled and besmirched Peter Alonso's reputation as a good guy. He said he was toxic. He implied that he was toxic. The whole radio station has doubled down on that, saying that he's a toxic individual within the Mets clubhouse. And never once has he apologized to Pete, even though Pete's been getting money from MLB to help with his charities. He said he's a bad guy, including the people that are working for that radio station. Well, I've been on his case since then. I've also been on his case when it comes to the National Football League and with the New York Giants, because he's the fool that hung up on legendary New York Giants linebacker Carl Banks, and he's made the football hut explode like crazy because I've been talking about it. I'm going to keep talking about you. I will say this: the program director has taken notice of your host goofing on his employees. I'll put it in that way. Thank you, Spike, for helping me out and exposing the fools that you've hired and the fool that you are, and upsetting us all fans. And I will say this again. What's the mantra that I've said about the New York Mets with WFAN, and in the media in particular? The Mets don't do anything right, and when they do it right, it's always wrong. A month ago, they fired Buck Showalter, and people in the media, like John Heyman, John Harper, just because they didn't hire a guy that has a name. It was a bad decision to fire Buck, even though Buck did a lousy job this past year. Didn't seem like he was all into it. But it was good the Mets fired him. But you know what? They shouldn't have fired him, because it's a bad decision, and they hired Mendoza. We don't know about Mendoza. Enough. Anyway, one few moments I like to scream. I don't scream too often. As you notice with these videos, I don't scream. These people scream. I have a question. Do they feel the need to scream that people don't pay enough attention to them? Now, as I read this article to you from Odyssey, Sal is making a threat. It seems more like a hopeful promise. I feel like sometimes when these clowns scream, they're really desperate for attention in more ways than one. And they love to make threatening comments towards our favorite team, the New York Mets, America's team, the New York Mets. Now, obviously, Spaz did not take well to the Mets hiring Carlos Mendoza. Let me read you from Odyssey. I do not watch these programs. I will watch Evan and Tiki in the afternoon because I watch SNY. But this kind of response, you will not see this on SNY during Baseball Night in New York. Sal will never, and the Hut means ever, say this on SNY. As you know, he's a host with this 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time show that he has that broadcasts all the Mets games. It's all pro Mets there. The audience are Met fans. Sal will never say this on SNY, ever. He'll never bring this up. This threatening comment he made. From Odyssey.com. Headline. Sal after Mets hire Mendoza. Quote, if it's not Yamamoto or Ohtani in free agency, I quit being a fan of this team. So what's the problem? Just quit. Get the fuck out of here, Sal. You're a lousy fan. And you're a fake fan. I don't care how many jerseys you wear. I don't care how many posters you put up of Darryl Strawberry in your ugly-looking office. You're a lousy fan, and you're fake. You were fake when you were working at WOR. You're fake on SNY, and you are fake on the fan. Fake on the fan. So, yeah, we know Sal Licata is not a fan of the Mets hiring of Carlos Mendoza for a few reasons. But on the right side, he doesn't think that will affect the Mets' free agency plans, which are all about the money. Now, I would say this. If the Mets don't get the right players, they will not win. It doesn't matter who the manager is. And if the Mets get Yamamoto and Ohtani, no one will care who the manager is, okay? I said that. That said, he doesn't believe you can say they've upgraded at skipper. Okay, the Mets they won 75 games last year. The farm system has been a mess. They're an old team. They won 101 games last year. Okay? They took a big step back. They had to make moves. And you have a new man in charge. I wonder if at some point Gia, the deranged lunatic in the morning, will scream that the Mets should fire David Stearns. Quote, it doesn't mean that they can't win. And maybe 2 years from now, we're all like, hey, Carlos, I'm sorry. You're the greatest manager ever. First guy to win a World Series since David Johnson. Maybe that's the case, Spaz said. However, they could have made a better hire that would have eventually had, let me see this again. I don't know if it's written right. However, they could have made a better hire that would have eventually had the same result. Quote, this is an uninspiring Yankee bench coach over an 82-win season replacing a borderline all-time great Hall of Fame manager in Buck Showalter. What? Now, I like Buck, and he did a great job the first year, and I wanted him to manage this club. But get real, Spaz. Let's be real. Really. BT, this is Brandon Tierney, asked if he would be different if Mendoza came from elsewhere, and he admitted that's likely. But harking back to the thoughts on one of Buck's competitors 2 years ago, who eventually ended up as an MLB skipper. One of the guys that it was with Buck, when Buck was about to get the job, was Matt Quantrill. And I said the same thing about him as I'll say about Mendoza. Who the hell is Matt Quantrill? Sal said, I don't care where he's coming from with the Rays. Like it's Buck versus Quantrill. This is not even a debate. It's hire Buck. Buck has nothing to do with this. This is a new situation. Every year is new. This isn't different. Except that you have a job now in the mid-morning, Spaz. They did that, and very Buckness. But yes, same principle could have applied here. Quote, even with all the other names that you could have said, first-time guy, Beltran, DeRosa, whoever it is, Carlos Mendoza, dude, Spaz asked, before giving the rant of all rants and going back on some previous words. Now, Carlos Beltran, it was said about a month ago that David Stearns was not hiring anybody within the organization. And as far as I know, Mark DeRosa did not apply for this job. He didn't get an interview, as far as we know. And Mendoza's been a pretty hot commodity here in the last 2 years. Give him a chance, Spaz. Jesus, this is ridiculous. They have to pretend to be the typical Mets fan. This is how Mets fans react. They all act like Frank Fleming. And that's how the Mets fans are. Quote, you're right, I was wrong. So I'll say it. Now the Mets are going to take over this town. No more LOL Mets. The Yankees are going to own the wrong way. I apologize, Sal said before screaming. I don't scream. I should have known better because I am an idiot. Well, that is true. At least he's being truthful about that. And a moron, too, for that matter. And I never learned my lesson. Since I said that Epler's out for ridiculous reasons, And they move on from Buck and they bring in the Yankee bench coach. I give up. Mercy. If it's not Yamamoto and Ohtani at $750,000, and that's what it's going to cost to get those two, I quit being a fan. I can't take it. Kill me. You've done it 1,000,000 times. Kill me. I'm dead. All BT could say in response, hey, it always gets darkest before the dawn. Now, I don't know if Coconut Head #1 was being funny, but Coconut Head was obviously said something in jest. But Coconut Head and Melon Head spaz licata. Really? If you feel this way, all right, you're threatening to quit being a fan. Okay, that's fine. Do it. You have attacked Pete Alonso and have not taken those words back. Stop being a fan. Do us all a favor. Stop bullshitting around. Stop being a fan. You're either a fan or you're not a fan. You're either in it or you're not. If you're not, goodbye. Just do it now. Just do us all a favor. Don't be a team. Don't be a fan of anybody. Just do us all a favor. Because as someone that's reading this stuff, it's pathetic. This sounds ridiculous. This is the rant of an insane person. But it's all about ratings. This is why he was hired, to act like a fool, so people could watch him. And I will say to watch my videos, so his insanity will help this channel grow and build this sports empire that your host is building here. And this is another episode of the crazy house that's known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha ha. They're coming to take me away, ho ho, hee hee, ha ha. To the funny part.